Good morning. It's Saturday, June 24th, and the remains of the submarine, the tiny submarine, also called a submersible, right, have been found about 1,600 feet away from the bow of the shipwreck of the Titanic that they were going to explore. This boat, this submersible, suffered a catastrophic implosion, killing everybody on inside. And the remains of these people will not be found. It would be a miracle if they find any of the skeletal remains of these people, because something that happens 13,000 feet below the surface of the ocean is not available when you go looking for it. And the noises that were created, that started this search sort of in the first place, were deemed not to have come from that ship itself. That ship was totally destroyed. Now, it started its trip on Sunday to explore the wreckage of the Titanic. And based upon the location and some other factors, the experts who are looking for this ship believe it destroyed, it imploded very early in its journey. So they went 13,000 feet down into the ocean, got near the Titanic, and their lives were gone. There were 5 people on the boat. Each of them paid $250,000 to make this trip. It were a father and son and 3 other people. And I don't want to go into the names and everything, but several of them were already adventurers. They had gone on other dangerous, I call them dangerous, on other dangerous journeys in their lives. So this was not a new experience for them in terms of doing something unusual. They were used to doing these kinds of adventures. And so it was something that they had sort of grown up with. It was in their mental makeup to go on these types of things. This is quite different from the space shuttle that exploded in 1986. I think it was 1986, where 7 astronauts were killed. But they were on the job. They were not really adventurers like these 5 people. And we mourned them. And I guess some people are mourning these 5 people too. And I don't blame them necessarily. I think everybody in their lifetime comes across a situation that could be considered dangerous. And we do some stupid thing. I remember walking near the edge of the Grand Canyon in a perilous place where I easily could have fell into the canyon, but I didn't. And I look back on some of the things that I did, and I know that they were dangerous. But I didn't pay $250,000 to do them. Now, the only way they're going to truly figure out what happened is if they can find pieces of this submersible down on the ocean floor, and then maybe they can truly figure out exactly what's happening. But an interesting thing happened. Here I am thinking that this is like a very strange event, like how many people do this? Well, there's a whole community of people who go in immersibles and go on these journeys under the ocean. Because on one of the articles I was reading, they had an interview of a gentleman who does this on a regular basis. And he said, he was the first one that came out and said, there was an implosion. Based upon the facts that he had gathered right away, he determined that there was an implosion on this immersible. And he knew that, he said, because all of these crafts have 2 radio systems somehow or other. There's one internal and one external. And it's very rare that both of them would go out at the same time, he says. But if that happens, 99% of the time it's because there's an implosion. So I didn't even realize that there's a whole community of people who go in immersibles and continue, either it's a hobby or a profession or whatever, they're under the sea all over looking for things. So this guy was an expert, and he said he knew 99% sure that this was an implosion. So you see, in the world, there are people who are adventurers and are doing things that we wouldn't even consider doing. A whole community of people that is involved in going into the ocean. Not as a profession, not for scientific reasons, not because they're oceanographers or whatever they are. Just hobbyists, right? But there are people who just like to do that. It's a hobby. But you got to be really smart to do it, I think. In any event, that's one of the things that came out in this entire episode. Most of the information that's being gathered to determine the timeline and the circumstances of the accident is being gathered by remotely operated vehicles that are going to map out the vessel's debris field, which is more than 2 miles deep in the ocean, as we know. So while there may be pieces of the ship down on the bottom, I am sure there are no remains of the humans down there. Because if this thing truly imploded, then there's very little chance that they're going to find any human remains. And that's a shame. That's a shame. In fact, the expert who testified on TV and told people about this whole immersible community has categorically said they won't find any remains. This is a catastrophic event and there will be no remains there. And I am pretty sure the explosion itself, and then there's creatures down there that eat things, so I believe that this guy knows what he's talking about. Meanwhile, Oceangate, the owner of the ship, is now under scrutiny because there are mounting reports of the safety concerns and mechanical problems that could have caused this disaster. And they're claiming possibly that Oceangate disregarded a lot of the regulatory processes that go into the creation of this ship. But the co-founder of Oceangate said, listen, when you do these trips, you know the risk. You know the risk. And those people were well aware of the risks. And we, our ship and our company, have done nothing wrong, and we have abided by all the rules. So if you go down there, 13,000 feet, the pressure is intense. And if there's any kind of failure, then you have a catastrophe. And unless we can find all the pieces, we're not going to really know exactly what caused this event. But I can tell you that we at Oceangate did everything possibly that could create a safe environment on the ocean floor. And in my mind, I think that all of the people who are oceanographic and have that intent recognize the risks. Unfortunately, these people that were down in the boat are not responsible for making sure that the craft is 100% perfect. That was Oceangate's problem. So maybe they were at fault, maybe not. But 5 people lost their lives, and that's a tragedy. So I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.